files are office, assessor, receiver, taxes, supervisor, building, water, highway, police, sewer, parks, youth, and patrol.
At this time, would any board members have anything to?
Yeah, I just have a couple of
All right.
things. We'll go down. I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday season coming up that we're coming into. November was extremely busy for myself, but I just wanted to mention a couple events that our police had. There was a color lunch up in Lake George that I attended with Officer Tubbs and a couple other officers to raise money for Special Olympics. It's just one example of what our police officers do in the community. They also were delivering food on their own time and food for Thanksgiving meals. And I know our fire company has been assisting a lot with the victims of Hurricane Irene. So I just want to thank our public officials for all that, police officers and all their staff. I did go in the water, yes. Yeah, very briefly. I didn't get my hair wet. I ran in and I ran out, and it wasn't that bad. And I hope I can get a few people to join me next year.
Yeah, I had a couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, if you've lived in this community for any length of time, you know the name of George Heppenstall. And George recently died, and I just wanted to extend our sympathies to his family, because he certainly was a fixture in this community for many years. I wanted to thank Anita Nero, because the decorations that you see around Town Hall, pretty much Anita did that single-handedly. She's not here tonight, she's probably exhausted, but she did them, and I think it shows. It looks beautiful, and I'd like to thank our little elf. Is she still there? For doing the tree lighting and arranging Santa Claus to be here tonight, too. That was pretty special, so thank you for that. We're going to have an exemption workshop. Actually, Brad Cannon is putting this together. He's here tonight. And Tony Murphy will be sending out some announcements. We had talked about this earlier, but it's going to be held on January 24th. It's going to let people know what exemptions they're eligible for. It'll be at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock at the library. There'll be a notice going out, but they do suggest reservations, because I think the room will get crowded. And I think it's a good idea to do this, and I'm glad that Brad will do it again. Also, on the good news side, the town received notification that they were awarded a grant of $15,760. This was in November, to formulate a document disaster recovery plan. This plan is going to be a precursor to the town applying for larger amounts of money to implement disaster recovery practices. That would be like digitalizing all paper documents. So that's a good program, and I'm glad that we've got that going, and congratulations to people for putting it together. And one last thing, in the business review recently, Hampton Manor was recognized as one of the best places to raise kids in New York. Hampton Manor, Hampton Manor. So, congratulations, Hampton Manor.
That's an answer.
Right, Joe?
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The water survey that's going to be going out for Hampton Manor residents is on schedule at this point. We've been working very closely with Jim Bragg, Stacy Crane, Amy Bing, as well as Hank LaBarber, our town water and sewer engineer. And collectively, we've put together what is really going to be hopefully a first step in really kind of analyzing the collective sentiment really of 600 Hampton Manor Water District residents to see if really what they want to do. And, this will give us that first, inclination, if you will, as to where they stand with respect to the water quality in Hampton Manor, whether they want to have that district consolidate with the general water district, possibly just more, perhaps maybe just want to go opt for some improvements to the existing infrastructure in the water district. And again, the survey is going to go out at the end of this month, and I guess we're going to be using a new envelope stuffer to get that done. And then we'll kind of do a compilation, and a data collection, following, our receipt of the surveys. We're hoping we're going to get a good, response to the surveys, and that obviously makes for a better effort all around. So, thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Rick. Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Enjoy yourself, be safe. I also wanted to bring up, we have toys for tots out there, I believe it is. There's an empty box out there, so if anybody has any gifts for after on after. We had fire down in Hampton Manor recently, I'm sure some of you heard about. Families all around our town, around the Capital District, get to enjoy the same type of Christmases that we do, so think of them this time of year, so be as generous as we can. The only other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to thank Margot and Hank for all the work that they did on our water contract. We got a big contract signed with Troy that we're going to be voting on tonight, and they just spent a tremendous amount of time on it. They got us a tremendous deal, and they really need to be recognized, because those are the sorts of things that really help the community when we can get 20-year contracts locked in at the rate we did. So thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Phil. Dan? Randy, why don't we? Can put it right there. I think we've done it. With that, I'll go to the report. I'll start with Joe, and this time.
I do have something to say, which usually I don't. I'm going to tonight. As preparing this statement, I'm going to say, I was the supervisor. I was thinking about what I would say, and it ended up almost sounding like a eulogy. And I said, I'm not here to bury you. But I know some fine folks would like to happen. So I put together a little something that, for my own personal, I guess, gratification, and you'll have to bear with me. It's not that lengthy. I always refer to Rick as the boss. So, boss, it's been my pleasure to work with you, for you, these past 14 years. Throughout the years, I have come to respect and marvel at how you were able to guide the town through some very difficult times, economically, politically, and personally. Economically, the country takes a hit, and yet you still kept the town moving forward. As you would always tell us, see if we can get it done within the parameters of the law. Politically, you were under constant assault. As you would often say, if you could find a cure for cancer, they would still find fault. Personally, they attacked your family. Yet you kept that out of the ability to do your job and guide the town of East Greenbush. But how many times have I told you, start thinking like an Italian? Your leadership has been one of letting those of us that work for the taxpayers of the town of East Greenbush to be a big part of the decision-making process. You always made us feel like we were part of the team. Maybe it was the old coaching. Let the players play, but you also know when to coach. You surrounded yourself with a good core group of players. We all knew our roles. You always allowed us time to shine. But it was never about you. It was always about the town of East Greenbush. I am proud to call him the boss, but more importantly, my friend. Merry Christmas to all. Happy New Year. Nothing further, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Joe. That's the motion, stand. Thank you. Daniela?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. had our tree lighting ceremony tonight. As you can see, I know I look like a court jester, and actually no. If you could see my shoes, it would make more sense. But I just wanted to thank a few people for making tonight possible. We had two lovely girls from Columbia High School came, and they caroled for us, and they played guitar, and it was really last minute, and I wanted to thank Emma Mizell and Cassie Sosa for that. They're only freshmen, and I thought they were seniors, and they were just really, really great. We also had refreshments from Zachary's Pastry Shop, and a special thank you to Tom O'Donnell for being Santa, and for the Sherwood Ave Firehouse for letting him ride in on the fire truck. That was really nice. And also a huge, huge thank you to David Warmer and Jimmy Walsh and Mike Donahue, because if it wasn't for them, the tree outside would not look as great as the tree does right now. They were out there for hours one day, I think a full work day with the lift and lights, and we had to go to True Value, and it was just a lot of work, and I'm really thankful that we were able to get the tree to look as great as it does, so thank you so much for that. Also, we're still accepting nominations for the Holiday Homes Contest. Tomorrow's actually the last day, so if you guys know any homes that look really great, feel free to fill out a nomination form. You can get them from my office, or you can email me, or you can print them off of the town website. And finally, just remember, Winterfest is coming up in January. This will be the last time I get to announce it at a board meeting. So Martin Luther King weekend, it'll be January 14th at Goff Middle School. And if anyone wants to enter into the chili contest, just look for information in the paper and on the town website for that. And I just also wanted to mention that this year in my department, we worked really hard to run successful programs, and having been working part-time as a summer staff for this department for a long time, and seeing things kind of go throughout the years, and being a camper from when I was 5 years old, and now being the person running all these things, it was really great to kind of run everything for once, and get to make decisions. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of that without my deputy director, Anita Nero, and of course without the support of the board and the supervisor. My department came in way under budget, and we were still able to run really great programs, and I expect that the attendance for all of our programs is going to shoot way up next year as well. And thank you to anybody who participated. Your kids, if they came to any camp, Easter egg hunt, everything, I really appreciate your support, and I look forward to what next year has to bring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have filed a monthly report with the board and the town clerk. Copy is available there. Feel free to use our website if you want to see an online version of the monthly report, as well as read up on some of the cases that we're working on. Councilman Malone mentioned Monday night a nasty fire on Maryland Avenue, 223. A couple of kiddos there in the house, ages 3 and 7. Everything went up, either in flame or was destroyed, smoke and heat damage. If you live in the manor, you know it was a bad fire because the smoke laid heavy over the lake for several hours after the fire companies were through extinguishing the fire. You can check with the Clinton Heights Fire Department webpage tomorrow and see if they have up a link to a toy collection for the kids. If it doesn't make their website, feel free to call the police desk, 479-2525, will give you the information on how to make a donation. That is all.
Thank you, Chief. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Reports from the various departments are on file with the clerk. It's been kind of quiet the last month or so. We had the one snow event, which went pretty well. We were one of the few school districts on this side of the river that didn't have a delay, because the guys were out there all night chasing that pesky storm around. I don't know if anybody noticed down at Hampton Manor in the tennis courts, our Parks Department has built an ice skating rink down there. There's no ice on it. They're waiting for the cold weather, but hopefully we don't have any. But it's ready to go if it ever gets cold enough to sustain the ice. So kids will have someplace else to skate. This is the last week of appliance amnesty. We extended that because there was a little snafu with getting it in the paper a couple weeks ago. So we've actually been doing that for 3 weeks, but this is the last week, so if you got anything, get it out there in the next couple of days, call and get an appointment. And what Joe said, ditto for me.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
Nothing new report, Mr. Supervisor.
With that done, we'll go to the open privilege portion of our
Mr.
program.
Supervisor,
I'm sorry.
not to be outdone by Mr. Terrabino at the end here, we certainly did not forget that this was your last meeting, and we did, as a board, we did a resolution to honor you, and I know that your wife Linda is here, and your daughter too.
Yeah, I'm going to speak about that.
Okay, all right. I'm glad that they're here, and I'd like to read this resolution. I know typically we just have been reading the title, but I think certainly this deserves recognition. This is a resolution honoring Richard Rick McCabe for his 14 years of dedicated service to the town of East Greenbush. Whereas Supervisor McCabe began his public service to the town of East Greenbush as councilperson in 1997, and whereas Rick McCabe proudly served in this position from 1997 through 2006, and whereas Rick's responsibilities were further expanded in 2000 when he began his service as deputy town supervisor. In this role, Rick assumed increasing duties as the health of Supervisor Angelini declined. Whereas in 2006, Mr. McCabe took over as supervisor upon the passing of Supervisor Angelini. Whereas Mr. McCabe began as supervisor at a time of economic recession, coupled with expectations of residents to reduce tax rates while maintaining services. And whereas Rick McCabe developed a team of talented, caring people who accomplished much with fewer resources. And whereas accomplishments of the McCabe administration included improvements to the infrastructure, increased cooperation with sharing of regional services, expansion and retention of existing businesses, attracting a Fortune 500 company to locate in East Greenbush, and hanging a welcome sign out to new economic development. And whereas Supervisor McCabe has achieved and been recognized by the local community for his service to youth as a teacher and coach, his dedication to community service, and his ability to promote his hometown to the region. Now therefore be it resolved that as an East Greenbush community, we recognize and celebrate Supervisor Rick McCabe on his 14 years of service. I'm introducing it, and I think the whole board wants to second it, Rick.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I think
Well, I'll
we should
second that
do
together.
And I just, want to thank you so much for being the supervisor, being our leader, being a friend, and we'll miss you, Rick. You've done a great job, and certainly it has not gone unnoticed, and thank you so much.
I'll miss you guys. I will make a statement at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
But I want to thank you all. Thank you. With that, open public privilege portion, each speaker shall state name and address prior to addressing the board. Shall grant up the floor for 5 minutes. The board thanks everyone who has further understanding and also for your desire to actively participate in the decision-making process locally. With that said, who would like to start off?
Elizabeth Tice, 18 Berkshire Drive. It's come to my attention that the town is considering building a bike path from the city of Rensselaer to the town of Sharon along the power line, which runs through my backyard. First, a question I have, is the town operating in the red, and if so, how much, or are we in the black? I wasn't able to find that information.
At the present time,
Yes.
you have tax.
You know how much?
I think about 1.2 million, Jim, something like that.
1.2. Thank you. All right. Is there a great need for this bike path?
I am going to pass this on because I'm not going to any of the meetings in this regard, So, Ginny, I
It's,
think
it's,
that
it's a proposed trail.
Right.
And it would be through most of those towns that you have mentioned already as well. But it's a proposal. A feasibility study was done. There was a $10,000 grant received, and a feasibility study has been done. It's one of the things that we're looking at with the community enhancement plan that we're trying to put forth. But it's certainly, if it does happen, it will be in the future, and there'll be more hearings about it. But there have been other segments of trails that have worked very well. Not here in East Greenbush, but in Skodak, and I think in Columbia County also.
Well, is the board aware that a half a mile, approximately a half a mile, might be a little more, from Point View Drive up to Greenwood Drive is all residential neighborhood where this power line goes through? Would you like to have this in your backyard?
Certainly, I would like to take your comments. You know, we've had a couple of public meetings on this, and as I
Well, this is the
mentioned,
first, I only learned about this tonight. But my point is, I've lived in my house for 41 years. And Chief Lavin, he knows, we have bought snowmobiles, the dirt bikes, everything for years. The last few years, it hasn't been as bad since the town redid the drainage ditch up at the top of Berkshire Drive, where they have all of that drainage water flowing into, which I was suffering flooding from, and Bobby Angelini, God rest his soul, he put a storm sewer in my backyard to alleviate my house flooding. Anyhow, since the town redid that, and I don't know if it was with Bob or not, I think he might have started it, I'm not sure. But that cut down on the snowmobiles and the dirt bikes. You know what it's like listening to that during the day, during the night, when you're trying to sleep, and having a paved pathway through there, you know, and it's just going to, and this is with a rough trail that we've had this for 41 years. With the paved area, it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. We're not going to have it. I'd just like to know, when we're, you know, $1.2 million deficit, we've got, then there's got to be insurance on this bike path, and then there's upkeep. But my biggest complaint is the noise and what it is going to do to us. And I hope you will consider your town, members. And I also just noticed tonight, when I was trying to research this bike path, that the town has given a 2% cost of living increase to those not affected by moving contracts. And I'm a senior citizen, and we haven't gotten a cost of living from Social Security. I understand we're getting one from January, but then they will take and raise what we have to pay for our Medicare. And we have no choice, we have to belong to Medicare. Once you're 65, you have to be on Medicare. And you have to pay every month. And every time you get an increase in Social Security, then they take and they raise how much you have to pay in Medicare. So there goes your payment, there goes. And I also have to address, I know it's not you people, but the state of New York, last week when they passed the new tax structure law, people over $2 million are getting an increase in their taxes. People from 40,000 to $1 million are getting a decrease in their taxes. A decrease. People earning under 40,000 are not getting anything. Nothing. That's what I have to say. And yet our taxes, our town taxes are going up. Our school taxes go up. But we can give a 2% cost of living increase to the town employees that aren't covered by the new contracts. And I'm just upset with all this. Thank you.
Anyone else at this time? Ed?
Okay, on November 10th, we had a presentation on the preliminary budget that outlined the expenditures for all the levels of government in Greenbush. And I asked a few questions during there, and I got some pretty good answers. And I was satisfied with the way the preliminary budget looked. And then, on the November 16th, when you went to do the final budget, it caught my eye that it said the final budget as amended to be enacted, or some sort of language like that. When I asked about it, I was told in fact, not 2%, but a 3% COLA is being given out to town employees that are non-unionized town hall employees, which I kind of got, because I was told they weren't given raises in quite some time. When the budget was put out on the website, we noticed some more drastic changes that weren't really shared with us at the time. Now, let me just ask, point blank, is it true that the Commissioner of Public Works salary is going from $60,000 to roughly $72,000? Anybody?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So 18% raise for the Department Commissioner of Public Works? Is it true that the collector of taxes is getting approximately a $5,000 raise?
That could be.
Yes, no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is it also true that the town supervisor's salary is being reduced by $10,000?
No,
No.
it's not.
No.
It's not, he's staying at $70,000? Town secretaries, they staying the same?
It's not the same secretary.
Yes, you
I
know
don't,
that.
I'm
it's
talking about the
not
position.
that It's finalized, the position is there.
Yeah, positions.
Salaries are not finalized, we have not talked to a single person who's affected by the salaries.
Okay, I guess then,
So there's nothing
It's been-
major as far as.
it's been what?
Is this a
November-
procedural question, Ed?
I'm getting
Is
to the
this an order
procedural
or
question.
procedural?
I'm getting there. The next question, which is a procedural one, is the town, New York State town law says, regarding the preliminary budget, section 107, section 1, preliminary budget shall be in the format prescribed by the state controller. The preliminary budget shall show by funds, and enumerates a bunch of them. And then finally, last one is D, salaries of elected officers and such other information pertinent to the above, which was shared with us in the salary schedule and preliminary budget. Section 109 goes on and says, the final revision and adoption of the budget. After the public hearing, the town board may further change, alter, revise the preliminary budget, subject, however, to the requirements of subdivision 1 of section 107 of this chapter. That was not in there. Section 107 states that you're supposed to be sharing the salaries of elected officials at the time that you present the final budget. It's not there. Anybody arguing that fact with me? Was the salaries of the elected officials in the final budget?
Elected officials, yeah, the elected officials haven't changed, no elected officials' positions changed.
The salaries of the elected officials, was it in the
Has not
final
changed.
budget?
Not changed.
They did not-
I'm not asking whether it changed or not, I'm saying was it included in the final budget?
Same as they were last year.
Except for the receiver.
Okay, well,
Is there a?
actually, they did change, because I'm being told right now that the elected official, the collector of taxes is getting a $5,000 raise.
Even if she does get a raise, which again, it hasn't been decided if she is, that's not included in there, it's elected board.
No, elected officials, it doesn't say elected board, it says elected officials.
Joe, would you like to take that?
We were advised by, Jim Reich actually told us,
And
Um,
attorney.
and the attorney, that there was the board members, the supervisor, and Linda. And they were all published, and they have not changed.
They were not published with the final budget.
Well, the salaries are $10,000 each for the board members, supervisor is 70, and Linda, I'm not sure what yours was. Yeah.
The receiver of taxes is an elected official. It doesn't have to be published. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
All right, well, I guess this question is for you then, Joe. If the salaries were supposed to be part of the final budget, and let's say they were or they weren't, but I mean, I didn't see them out there anywhere with it. There was no attachment to the final budget. It wasn't part of the hearing when it came. Would you consider that an official budget still?
I'm sorry, an official budget, what?
Would you consider that we actually had an official budget to be voted on if those salaries weren't included?
They were. We just told they were, and they were announced by Linda, I believe, Linda at the beginning of the meeting.
The beginning of the meeting?
When I read the report, when I read the public notice, at the beginning of the board meeting, yes, I read through all the salaries.
We'll go back and take a look at it. Okay, why are we giving out 18% raises?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to address that.
Dave, that's up to you, you don't have to.
Okay, well, I'd like to clear it up. 3 years ago, when our Public Works Commissioner was here for 10 years, he left, he was making close to $80,000. We had a Deputy Commissioner that was making close to $60,000. I'm doing both jobs, okay? For what I did for this year was $62,000, okay? I went and I asked them for a raise because I had statistics where I was notified 60 times since the first of the year after hours in which I had to go out and make calls, check on different things, and I don't get overtime. I don't get overtime for these meetings. I don't get overtime for staying until 5 o'clock like I did yesterday. I don't get overtime for going out for any of those calls. When my guys go out and plow, I go out. Like the other night, I was in 11:30. Okay, so that's why I'm getting a raise. Thank you.
And I support that, dude.
We all support
We all
that.
do.
I come in early, I work late as well, I don't get overtime. You got hired at the salary you were hired at, you knew the job when you came in. I'm sorry, I just don't see 18% being justified when we have a 9% unemployment rate nationwide, 8% in Rensselaer County, and other people are struggling. It just seems the raises that I saw on the salary schedule were way out. And $5,000 to the tax collector, is she coming in late and leaving early as well? Something happening? Is she going out on the calls with you, Dave?
Thank you for your comments.
I'd just like to add one last thing.
Don't even.
Well, I just think it's a bargain for, two people at $140,000.
What do you mean, don't even bother?
We have two people making $140,000 total. I'm doing it for half that price, one person. That's all.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time?
Tom Grant, Celestia, just a clarification, because I wasn't quite following it all. So the supervisor's salary starting next January is $70,000.
That is correct.
Everybody,
That is correct.
That's correct.
thank you.
Bill Mahan, Hampton Manor. Mr. Commissioner, you don't have a deputy commissioner?
No.
Is there a foreman or highway, somebody under you that can go out or anything?
Each department has a form.
Like water, sewer,
Yes.
highway?
I have 5 departments.
Parks.
5 departments with 35 guys. I think the biggest department in town.
Well, I thought there was a deputy, you had a deputy 3 years ago, you said?
Yeah.
We haven't had a deputy since Dave took over.
Thank you.
Don?
Don Johnson, 41 Berkshire. I want to comment too with Mr. Gilbert on the budget process. I think one of the problems that we have here is not just what happened, but how it happened. And that is one thing that distresses me greatly because we don't have accountability and transparency in what happened between the preliminary and the final budget. And that's where the stress is, I think, in town. And I disagree. I've spent a little time, I'm not a lawyer, but I spent some time over at the state library looking at McKinney's and the Office of the State Controller's opinions on Section 27 of the town law. One of the things that is very, very much assumed by all of this stuff, it hasn't been litigated a whole lot at all, but there are opinions that go back to the 50s about raising elected officials' salaries and lowering elected officials' salaries. The presumption that is constantly there is that the salaries of elected officials, which are stated with the preliminary budget, survive to the final budget. Then they can be changed. One opinion from 1984 talks about lowering a supervisor's salary. It says it's an appropriate discussion for the organizational meeting, not before that. And I see you have solved that problem. The other opinion, I think, was from 1982, the Office of the State Controller, and it talks about, specifically, an elected receiver of taxes. And it says this is McKinney's summary of the opinion. The salary of an elected receiver of taxes may be increased by a resolution of the town board subject to referendum, and the increase financed by such legally available monies as contingent funds, surpluses, unexpended balances, or for borrowing pursuant to the local finance law. The receiver of taxes in our town is elected, not appointed. That means that the law that talks about raising salaries of elected officials applies to the receiver of taxes. We went through this on the stipend stuff. It should be plain and clear. Thank you.
Anyone else at this time?
My name is Richard Benko. I live at 10 Pine Grove Street, Prospect Lakes. I was born and raised in the town of East Greenbush. I've lived here all my life. I enjoy living in the town. And I consider it an honor to work for the town of East Greenbush, the present administration, and Rick McKay. I hold a top secret clearance in the federal government. I am subject to random drug tests, random lie detector tests at any time. I have to keep my clearance for 10 years following my retirement. That being said, what my point is that I would like to thank the board. I'd like to thank Rick McCabe and for the opportunity to work here. It's been a great place to work. I still enjoy it. I will continue to work here. But I want people to know that from my position and my integrity that I uphold, this board and this administration has done the best of their ability. There is nothing that I can say that I would ever consider to be underhanded, illegal, or whatever. People can say what they want to say, but I find it being appalled that what Mr. McCabe went through in the past couple of years. And I would swear to that, and I find it's ridiculous that we have to, even as town employees, have to be subject to writings of being a coward. I believe that was one of the statements in the latest Troy record. So, that being said, I would just like to again thank Mr. McCabe for doing a great job. He's been nothing but the best chief. He's been nothing but of the highest integrity. whatever people may say, you can take it to the bank. Rick?
Anyone else at this time?
Phil Vecchio from Huntswood Lane, and just to reiterate a little bit of what Mr. Johnson said, I actually have a copy of section 27 of the town law and compensation of town officers and employees. The preliminary numbers, preliminary budget applies to both elected and appointed. And I will work with Mr. Johnson in making sure that the procedures are followed here. That's my promise. Thank you.
Anybody else at this time? We'll close that portion of the meeting and we'll move on to the resolutions. 171.
Resolution 171-2011, approval of meeting minutes. I move that the minutes of town board meeting held on November 16, 2011, be approved as submitted by the town clerk.
Councilman Maddox?
Yes.
President Kay? Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Long?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Bill?
172-2011, a resolution approving and authorizing the settlement of tax proceeding entitled Town of Greenbush after considerable discovery, inspection, appraisal, review, and negotiation with petitioner's counsel. The town cert council and assessor's office have recommended a settlement agreement to the values for the years 10 and 11. Settlement order provide the county pay the town share of the refund and charge it back to the town in the next year's tax levy. I move the foregoing resolution. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Councilman Long?
Yes.
Councilman Mangle?
Yes.
President Kay?
Yes.
Councilman Maddox?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
173-2011, a resolution approving and authorizing the settlement of tax proceedings entitled Rodney C. Powis and Alyssa Walliver. After considerable discovery, inspection, appraisal, review, and negotiation, the petitioner's counsel and the tax counsel, the assessor's office have recommended a settlement to the value for the year 11. I move the foregoing resolution. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it, Bill.
Thank you.
Councilman Long?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
President Kay?
Yes.
Councilman Maddox?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
174-2011, a resolution authorizing the town of East Greenbush to accept the conveyance of 3 parcels of land presently used for stormwater retention purposes. Certain properties set forth before have been acquired by the county for non-payment of property taxes. These properties are integral to the town's stormwater retention system and have retention ponds located thereon. These properties should be owned by the town, and the county has proposed the conveyance thereof. I move the foregoing resolution. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it, Bill.
Thank you.
Councilman Long?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
President Kay?
Yes.
Councilman Maddox?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution 175-2011, resolution enacting local law 4, 2011, allocating allocation of DPW commissioner's salary. The town board does hereby adopt local law 4, 2011, entitled local law and allocation of commissioner's salary. We go through this. We have explained it last meeting. Make that motion, so that's it.
I'll second that, Supervisor.
Supervisor Kay? Councilman Long?
Yes.
Councilman Maddox?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
176-2011, resolution of the town board of the town of East Greenbush to accept and adopt a solid waste management plan for the Capital Region Solid Waste Management Partnership, and that secret finding statement issued by the lead agency, and authorizing the execution of an extension to the existing intermunicipal agreement. The supervisor of the town of East Greenbush is hereby authorized to enter into and execute an extension of the existing IMA with members of the planning unit. I move the foregoing resolution. Do I have a second, please?
Councilman Long?
Yes.
Councilman Maddox?
Yes.
President Kay?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
a resolution to schedule the 2012 organizational meeting. The town board of the town of East Greenbush shall conduct the 2012 organizational meeting at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, January 2nd, 2012, right here at the East Greenbush Town Hall. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Councilperson O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilperson Mandel?
Yes.
Supervisor McKee?
Yes.
Councilperson Ray?
Yes.
And Councilperson Wall?
Yes.
178, 2011, resolution authorizing a cost-benefit analysis of extending the health insurance buyout program to the town retirees. The town board of the town of East Greenbush, in its continuing effort to reduce town operating expenses, has determined that one means of doing so may be the extension of health insurance buyouts to the town retirees. I move forward that recommendation.
I'll second that, Sue.
Thanks.
Councilperson Mandel?
Yes.
Councilperson O'Brien?
Yes.
Supervisor McKee?
Yes.
Councilperson Matters?
Yes.
Councilperson Wall?
Yes.
179, 2011, resolution to authorize budget transfers. The town board has received a request from the town controller for approval of budget transfers listed. I will move forward that resolution. And a second.
Second, Sue.
Councilperson Mandel?
Yes.
Councilperson Matters?
Yes.
Supervisor McKee?
Yes.
Councilperson O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilperson Wall?
Yes. 180-2011, authorize the purchase of trucks for the water department. At the request of the Commissioner of Public Works, in accordance with town policy and general municipal law, competitive bid was issued for the purchase of 3 utility trucks for the water department. I move the foregoing resolution. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Councilperson Wall?
Yes.
Councilperson Mandel?
Yes.
Supervisor McKee?
Yes.
Councilperson Matters?
Yes.
And Councilperson O'Brien?
Yes.
181, 2011, resolution establishing procedures for monthly department reporting. The Citizens Fiscal Advisory Committee has developed standardized report formats and recommends the town adopt the attached monthly departmental report formats. Do you have a second?
I'll second that, Sue, but I wanted to add that we had talked about something like this earlier in the year, and basically what we're doing is just formalizing this and standardizing, having a standard report. It has come out of the Citizens Fiscal Advisory Committee as a suggestion. I think it's a good one to standardize the reports and all the department heads submit. And what we didn't read in that little blurb is that the department heads are instructed to submit monthly reports in the format given to the town clerk by the 10th business day of the month, following the month being reported on, and that a copy of the department head's report shall be made available on the town's webpage as soon as practicable. In an effort to be open and transparent, we want to have all those reports out there for people to see. So I gladly support it.
Yes.
Councilperson O'Brien?
Yes.
Supervisor McKee?
Yes.
Councilperson Matters?
Yes.
Councilperson Wall?
Yes.
182, should be 2011. 182, 2011, resolution authorizing attendance at the Association of Towns 2012 newly elected officials training seminar. At the request, the New York State Association of Towns is sponsoring a 3-day program for newly elected officials to be held January 11th, 12th, and 13th, 2012 at the Desmond in Colony, New York. General municipal law permits the town to authorize attendance by officers for whom a term has not yet commenced. Basically what we're doing here, since there's a local seminar for newly elected officials, we are stating in the resolution that the supervisor-elect Langman is in here this evening. He will be able to attend that meeting along with his proposed deputy supervisor and the comptroller. So I do have a second.
I'll second that.
Councilperson O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilperson Mandel?
Yes.
Supervisor McKee?
Yes.
Councilperson Matters?
Yes.
Councilperson Wall?
Yes.
182, 2011, resolution authorizing the town of East Greenbush to enter into a 20-year water supply agreement with the city of Troy and the city of Rensselaer. Since 1964, the town of East Greenbush and the city of Rensselaer have jointly owned and operated a water supply pumping station in the city of Troy. Under a written water supply agreement which ran to October 2004, the town board determines that entering into this water supply agreement is in the best interest of the town. And once again, we've been through this a number of times, but not enough can be said for Margot. and Hank for their work, and Paul Golden from Rensselaer for the fine work they did, and it's a very good contract, and it's one that will benefit everyone. So thank you guys.
Yes, I'll say.
Supervisor McKay?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilman Shannon?
Yes, and I give my thanks to Hank and Margot as well. They put in, I can't say anything more than what's already been said by my colleagues here, that you put in such a tremendous number of hours and coordinated your efforts. You always do, and we're very appreciative.
Councilman Malone?
Yes.
Councilman May?
Yes.
184-2011, resolution to accept sewer and water district extension and schedule a public hearing for Michael Hughes Substation, Michael Road. Town board is in receipt of written requests from Board of Development for the extension of House Sewer District and the extension of General Water District for the Michael Hughes subdivision to connect the town of East Greenbush sanitary sewage and water systems. The town board shall conduct a public hearing at 6:45 p.m. on Wednesday, January 18th, 2012, to consider the extension of the House Water District and the General Water District for that subdivision. I move the foregoing resolution. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Councilman Malone?
Yes.
Councilman Mandel?
Yes.
Supervisor McKay? Councilman Shannon?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes, and I just wanted to clarify that the date that we're going to have that public hearing will be at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the town board, which will be on January 18th, 2012. The organizational meeting will be earlier. Yes, I hope.
With that, I think that's all the resolutions, and I'll open up for the last time, and then any board member, at this point.
I just want to say I'm going to miss you, Rick. It's been a good time, and I also want to welcome Keith Langley. We've had a few meetings, and, I'm sure he's going to do what's right for the town, and he seems like he's in it for all the great reasons. It's really working with Keith. We'll move forward.
Rick, your family's just been a fixture in this town for a lot of years. You gave a lot to this town before you came to the board. And I think, the way that you have, it's about you, really, in spite of all the, all of the acrimony that's been around this years. I think you've made a very positive impact on this town and its residents. You always gave me the freedom to express myself and my independence. It was very uncomfortable for me at times, but you never made me feel uncomfortable. I always appreciated that. You helped me thicken up my skin, which I think you need to have when you're sitting up here. And I've been at this 10 years, and the first time I ran was with you in '02. I still can't believe, some of the things that I did back then, because I was so new. And but you never made me uncomfortable because of it, and you were always a gentleman. And I think I'm a better person because of it. That's right.
Old radio personality and star. I couldn't resist. Thank you all for your kind words. They were more than appreciated. And I'll never forget you guys. Thank you all for that. It's very humbling. Secondly, surprisingly, there is one person in this room that is more excited about me leaving than Don Johnson and Ray Mooney. I've done this 14 years. 750 public hearings, public meetings, and public time to announce. And for the first time, my lovely bride came to see to make sure I was leaving. Now the bad news, you're stuck with me. Jack Conway here. Yeah, here's Jack, my old friend. I think you'll like this, Jack. I know you were in Ireland, spent a lot of time there, and different things. One of my life lessons was learned when I was 23 years old, and it was my first rugby game. And I played football in high school, college, and with that, and we played it. But I always hung around with the guys from Albany Law School. And they were juniors and seniors, and they were just ready to graduate. And they were going to start the Albany Knickerbockers, which I was a part of when we started it. And the first game I ever played, I can't remember who we played, it might have been Schenectady, but we had a battle, blood all over the place. But I learned a civility lesson that day that has stuck with me for all these years, and I've used it in 40 years or 30 years of coaching. I used it here, I used it, and I've got to use it now after this election. And I remember the game, after the game, I think we won it, the guy was happy, and I was 23, this old grizzled veteran, blood coming out of his ears, snot coming out of his nose, and I was a rookie. He grabs me and he tells me, Rick, there's two things. One, you win with integrity, and two, you lose with integrity. I won 6 elections, I lost 1. I will go out, and I think Keith can verify this. I've sat with Keith for about 7 or 8 hours. I think the transition is going well, and I wish Keith the best of luck. Obviously, I wish the board the best of luck continuing, because I worked with them for so long. I am certainly not bitter about the loss. I'm not, other doors open, there's other things to do, and my life is pretty good. But I would like everybody to know, and Jack Conway says it all the time, you guys work together. It's for the benefit of the town. It's not for the benefit of one person, 2 people. It's for the benefit of the town. And I know you guys can do that. And Keith, it's been a pleasure, and as I said, any questions you have, I'm trying to help you. Thirdly, and a little bit of selfishness, and you read things, here's a fact, here's a fact, here's a fact. Yeah, here's a fact, we've got it, guys. We're well aware of that, and so is the board back there. But we don't like to admit it. More has been done in this county in the last 15 years that's been done in the previous 50. We've had major economic growth. We've had major residential, smart residential growth. We've had a number of different areas come in, a number of different commercial projects. We've had more grants than any time in our past history. We've had more infrastructure changes than any time in our past history. And we needed to do it. The infrastructure was killed. I mean, that's a problem across the country now. Your infrastructure is bad. It was bad, and we fixed it. We fixed our parks. We bought parkland. Yes, I know there's problems with the water. Well, there's going to be problems with the water years ago. We're trying to fix that. That's why we're getting grants. We're just pleased with the developments, and we're pleased with the future developments, which obviously I will not be here for. Keith will and his board will be here for. But right now, we've got a number of things under the surface that are going to come to fruition that have been sitting there for 4 years. We've got interest back in Temple Lane. We've got interest back in Mill Creek. And one of the things I was beaten up badly by for years is, 9 and 20, 9 and 20. Well, if you don't own the land, you can't really do too much. I like to report, and I mentioned this to Mr. Gilbert last time we met, there is 4 different things happening on Route 9 and 20. And that's great. And what I'd like to see down the road is just more improvements, more things we can do. We've got the Route 4 corridor study. We've had more studies. We've got the GIS study. We've got the master plan study. We've got the park plan studies. They're all in effect. The roundabouts are going to be done. The first one's going to be done in May. There's going to be one done in 213, and there'll be another one done in 215. They're there. It's happening, and it's going to happen. East Greenbush is not the focal point of Rensselaer County for no reason. It's the focal point of Rensselaer County because that's where we are, that's what we've done, and that's where we are going. And I'm very pleased. to be part of that, and I will continue to look and watch to see where we go from there. Last part, the most difficult part is 14 years I've come here, 7 as not supervisor, but we knew Bob's condition. A number of us were close to Bob, knew what was going on, and I took more responsibilities. I just want to say, and Keith, I've told you this before when we talked, the people that work in this town are great. They're the best resources you could possibly have. For me, every day, I was coming into my second family. The people here care, the people here do their job, and the people here are professionals. My style, and I don't know what yours is, and but the board knows, the people that work with me know, I delegate, I expect them to do something, I'm not on their back every minute, I don't expect that. But as I told Carmela in my first day there, if I want something, I want it. And it's always been there. You are the greatest group to work with. I love teaching, but you guys are great. And once again, I like to use lines like stealing from Tenozo and NCIS, the movie lines. When we were 25 seconds away from winning the first state championship in 1990, I called timeout and I got the team together and I stole a direct line from the movie Hoosiers. And I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I love you guys. Thank you.